Hi, I'm Don Mancini, the writer-director of the movie you're about to watch. I forget the title.
I'm Fiona Dourif, and I am an actress in it.
And I am Tony Gardner, and I make puppets. And I make them move.
Sometimes.
Occasionally.
We were saying earlier, Tony was late. And Fiona commented, well, that's the story of our life. Always waiting for Chucky.
Always waiting for Chucky. Chucky gets 20 takes.
So what should we talk about at the top? I feel like one of the things we should talk about is the casting of Fiona Dourif in this movie. I think that fans will find that interesting, how that came to be. Oh, by the way, that is a complete visual effects shot, which I love. I think it's cool. Everything about that is animation. Doesn't that look cool?
Yeah, it's really cool. That was the actual house, though, right?
No,
that wasn't even
it's a CG version of the house.
Wow.
Yeah, but we had to. The house is actually in a suburban neighborhood, and the other houses were very close together. And the house in our story needed to seem like it was isolated, so that Tony hasn't seen the movie, so he'll just be idiotically commenting, "Oh, there's a puppet."
You'll hear lots of, whoa, hey, look at that.
So I was having lunch with Brad one day, and by the way, this is Fiona's favorite scene in the movie.
I hate this scene. It's like, cut the scene.
But we won't focus on the negative.
Right.
I love this scene.
Chucky does great.
And that is Jordan Gavaris, who is the star of the BBC America show Orphan Black, Saturdays at 6 Eastern Standard. I told him I would plug that. So I was having lunch with Brad, and we were catching up, and he asked me, if he goes, you should see Fiona for something. And I said, oh, that's interesting, because I had met Fiona glancingly a couple of times over the years, although she doesn't remember.
When I was a
kid. Apparently more memorable for me. And being a True Blood fan, I knew that she was on True Blood, and Brad told me that she had just done The Master for Paul Thomas Anderson, and I figured, well, if she's good enough for Paul Thomas Anderson, she's good enough for me.
Maybe she's good.
So she came in and initially read for Barb, who is the character played ultimately by Daniel Basutti. And Fiona, you were great, but I was like, you know what? I don't think she's right for Barb, but I think she could be the lead. I think she could be Nika. And I was like thinking, am I just deluded here? And I'm wanting to kiss Brad's ass or something by casting his daughter in the movie. It's like, oh, well. But then we brought Fiona back. I'm talking to you as if you're not here.
No, it's fine.
And you killed it in your audition. And one of the reasons why was just that, as I know I've said this to you many times, and probably to Tony as well, that I believed you in the wheelchair.
You're right.
And that I'd seen a number of actresses who were beautiful and great actresses, but I just didn't believe that they were in that chair. And I did with you somehow. I felt like this girl has suffered. Of course, now that I know you, I know the full extent of the long, tragic story.
Right. Brutal.
But we were also just wondering, will it be confusing to people? Will they automatically assume that she's is the character secretly the daughter of Chucky? Which I'm assuming people who are listening to the commentary track now, they know the story, so she's not. But I thought, but as a question for viewers, that's not bad. That's kind of interesting.
Right, totally. And it's definitely been...
I'm Chucky. Want to play?
So, Tony, do you want...
Great, Tony.
Stage one, doll? You want
That's
to talk
my
about...
best work right there. It's all downhill from here.
I thought that came off really well, though.
I'm gonna make tuna melts later, okay?
Oh, that sounds good. Can we have some tuna melts in here? So, Tony, talk a little about stage 1, stage 2, and stage 3 dolls.
Well, stage 1 is going into the can right there. That is the classic good guy doll. Only this version weighed 80 pounds.
Right, I remember that.
Because it had a giant battery in it.
Oh, yeah.
For the jaw. It was decided later that it would articulate So there was a bit of refurbishing, which meant a few extra pounds.
Right.
Isn't this music great?
Yeah, I haven't heard the final track of the
Yeah,
music.
the music, and that's actually Chantal's scream, Chantal Cannell, who plays your mom.
Yes.
Now I'm going to be like stopping to listen to the music because I love it so much. The music was done by Joe LaDuca, who did all the original Evil Dead movies.
He's awesome.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, he did a fantastic job, as you will hear, even though you're not allowed to listen because we have to talk constantly. Should we talk about the set? This house.
Yeah, that was incredible.
The set's
beautiful.
incredible. Yeah.
I thought the coolest part was walking in and seeing it in the very beginning when it was like white bread, generic, and watching them turn it into this house, this cool character house over the course of a week was pretty amazing.
And it was a 2-story house built in the middle of a soundstage that definitely had a what looked like a solid upstairs and downstairs. And
how did
working
that
elevator.
Yeah, and how'd that
Great.
elevator work, Don?
The elevator was the bane of our existence, other than Chucky,
Other than Chucky.
for a while.
I have to leave now.
No, I'm teasing. Chucky was awesome, as he always is. Tony Gardner and his crew did an amazing job under very difficult circumstances. What should I talk about? So many things. Your nightgown. Fiona's nightgown is inspired by Amy Irving's nightgown in The Fury,
Oh, yeah.
which I was like, before I even knew Fiona, I was like emailing her photos of Amy Irving from The Fury.
God.
See, I only saw Fiona in this nightgown for like 2 months, so
I know.
I had no sense that she had any fashion sense
Oh wait,
whatsoever.
guys!
And
Okay,
I
guys,
don't.
neither of you have seen this. Look at this thing with the title we did here. This was an idea that Leo Madrini, who is our anyway. Just watch this. It's inspired by Panic Room, which Leo and I both loved. Isn't that cool?
Oh.
Yeah, it's really cool.
Oh, that's great.
Although when we were in the wee hours of mixing the sound for this movie, we would just joke about how when the family arrives in the house a little bit later, they're this weird decorating thing that the word curse is just hovering in the middle of their living room, and that they would have to like kind of like
Excuse
ease
me.
it down.
Sorry.
Now, this shot was one of the trickiest shots in the whole movie to do,
Oh,
as I
dear
knew
God.
it would be. And there's actually, during this revolution around Chucky, there is a disguised cut. So because we had a piece of one take was better than the
Where's
latter
the
half.
cut? I didn't see the cut.
Oh, it came before. You wouldn't see it. You wouldn't be able to see it because it's like the frame is mostly black and with yay
Yeah.
with CGI you can make those yay Tony. Oh, we forgot to say yay Fiona.
Yeah, I know. Nobody gave me any love. It's fine.
But Fiona, that must be exciting to see your
Yeah,
your
it's really
name
exciting.
at the top of a
Also wild that it's Chucky. I mean, I grew up with Chucky. As
talk about that.
I don't know. My birthday is the day before Halloween, so Chucky made an appearance at every single birthday. It was the coolest thing about dating me in middle school. I was the seed of Chucky. I'm the actual seed of Chucky, and was not invited to the premiere, but that's okay.
I think if possible, Brad, you were invited. I would assume that you were invited to any and all of the premieres, but we were
Yeah.
just too cool for you. I think if possible, Brad was more excited about your starring in this movie than you were,
True, he was so
because it
excited.
was really cute and really sweet.
He was very proud.
Excited.
He was very proud, and he would even like hang. He came out and hung out on the set sometimes, even when you weren't working,
That's
Fiona.
very true.
And he was just very jazzed about this.
In fact, I think it was after the Barb audition, I get a call from my dad 2 days later, and he's very enthusiastic. And he says, Fiona, do you know that Dawn is willing to see you for the lead, of course, of Chucky? I was super stoked. I have trouble watching this scene.
Yeah, what
Turns out it's actually
people who
really
aren't-
hard to watch yourself do stuff.
Yes. One of the things about this movie, we're talking about The House before. This movie had a much lower budget than any of the other Chuckies. We only had $5 million to do this movie, so I tried to kind of design the movie to accommodate that, and that's one of the reasons I decided to do a movie in the subgenre of the Old Dark House movie. Old Dark House, referring to the James Whale movie, The Old Dark House. But it's a whole subgenre where you have a gothic thriller that takes place all in the course of one stormy night in one really cool house. So it just seemed like a good idea to focus our limited expenses on, rather than having to move the cast and crew around as one does on a lot of movies. We were able to just pretty much, other than a few days, stay right here on the stage. And so we were able to spend the money on the set, which was, as we've said, just great. And I'm assuming the viewer agrees with us already.
Yeah.
Isn't the set awesome? The set was designed by Craig Sandels, by the way, fantastic designer.
Yeah. I walked into the set and thought, if I had a lot of money, my house would look almost exactly like it. It's exactly my taste.
We wanted to take it apart and bring it back and turn it into a haunted house.
Oh, yeah.
I thought they could set it up at Universal.
And this shot was something I dithered over a lot. I was really worried about this scene because in this scene you've got, you have to introduce a half a dozen characters, and you also have to be kind of a traffic director and choreograph everyone's entrance into the scene. So I was inordinately proud probably of that camera movement that circled around Fiona as everyone's walking in. That's Maitland McConnell, who plays the nanny, Jill.
Hilarious
this is Summer
girl.
Howell, who was kind of scared of Chucky, which worked to our advantage.
There's a trust fund set up in her name for therapy.
And Daniel Basutti plays Barb. What might people know her? Well, she's actually in Insidious 2. So by the time this comes out, people will probably have seen Insidious 2, and she plays the villain in that. So this will be a big horror movie year for Danielle.
Yeah, definitely.
And this is A. Martinez, who was in Santa Barbara in the 80s, and he was a huge heartthrob on Santa Barbara and L.A. Law.
And hilarious.
And hilarious.
And he was, what was the movie with?
With Meryl Streep.
Yes.
She-Devil.
He was in She-Devil.
And he was awesome in She-Devil, playing her butler / boy toy.
Right. Yeah, he was amazing.
Remember, you don't have to lock the door.
That bathroom was so beautiful, too.
But what about you guys?
I remember when I was seeing the floor plans of this set, of the bathroom initially, I thought it was too big. That, it just seems huge. And Craig said, no, you're going to thank me later. And he was right. Because we spent a lot of time in this bathroom. A lot of times, Video Village was set up in this bathroom.
Right.
Is it wrong to hear the sound of a little girl
Oh, the little
peeing?
girl pee, it's a little weird. I always thought it was a little weird. She really sells it, though. She looks slightly bored.
As one does.
That's my
I love
very
that
cool
wheelchair.
shower
That was my
chair.
favorite.
We never used it, right?
Yeah, we didn't, because we didn't shoot the scene. There was a scripted scene. There was a whole sequence where we saw Nika, Fiona's character, getting up in the morning and taking a shower and dressing herself.
Beautiful shots, too.
And when we shot some of it, and it was really great stuff. We had to cut it for time, though. But one of the shots was her taking a shower in that wheelchair, and I thought that the wheelchair was really cool.
Yeah. Not a realistic shower chair. I remember our paraplegic consultant was like, that's not what they look like.
Well, we
But
had
it's
to take
okay.
some license. It needed to look horrifying.
No, absolutely.
Cool.
Absolutely.
I don't know if you guys will be able to listen to the music here. There are little whispers.
Oh.
You
Oh,
hear that?
yeah.
It's a little like...
Yeah, that's scary.
Yeah, this was her first movie. She was really good. Okay, Tony, we need to talk about this. This is the stage 2 doll. That arm that reached out was actually a CG arm.
Was it?
Yes, it was. I always thought that I'm just giving Tony a hard time. The stage 2 doll, which is Chucky with his normal good guy face, but has the capacity to be emotive and scary. He, from certain angles, looked a little sexy.
And from other angles, it looked a little duck-like.
That's what he looks like. He had collagen in his lips.
It's been a long 25 years.
He's a little feminine.
Well, he's got a few issues.
But he is creepy. He's creepy looking, which is one of the good things about that doll. And we really took advantage of that later in the movie in the scene when Alice, makes what we call the tent, where she pulls the blanket over them and looks at him with the flashlight.
We're going to have to send Alice to public.
It was tricky trying to transition from the different stages, to be honest. Because to get the mechanical articulation, you wanted in stage 2 and stage 3.
Right.
But to actually look like stage 1, I mean, the eyes are different. Just the proportions that have to transfer change. So it was challenging.
Well, you did a great job.
No, Don, you did a great job.
No, you did.
Oh, we all did.
No, you did.
No, I didn't.
This is like people can't
I love everybody.
People can't see.
Okay,
that
this is
Fiona
a little...
is cringing. Like she's like not able to watch it. Really?
See, back to the cute face. On the doll that weighs 50 pounds.
Oh, that's right. I remember. It was very
She's
tough for
straining
Summer.
right there.
Do you remember when we shot this scene? It was actually for that shot that we just passed, the close-up on Chucky's face, after Nika says, "Really?" And we have the close-up on his face and we hear the clock chiming. Remember, we originally pulled the camera in for the close-up and Summer was holding the doll, but because it was such a close shot, you could see minute movements.
Oh.
And so it just wasn't working. And so I was just getting frustrated. And I think Video Village was in the kitchen at that point. So I come like bursting out and like saying, "Tony, it's not working. We're just gonna have to put him on. She can't hold him still. We're just gonna put him on a stand." And Summer burst into tears. Remember, I felt so terrible.
Yeah.
And it was like, and I was like, "No, it's not you. It's anybody would have a hard time," which is true. Anyone would have a hard time holding an object perfectly still with that lens.
Right. Also, we didn't have enough time to shoot anything ever. So it was like very high pressure race every day.
Beat the clock on
Man,
a daily
every
basis,
day, yeah.
really.
Seriously. I get 2 takes, no big deal, but that's true. Maybe that's not true.
I remember you objected vehemently to chopping these tomatoes like this.
And it's so good. I was so wrong.
I don't know
was
that
so
you're wrong,
wrong.
actually,
Oh,
but it
no, I
just
think
looks
it's great.
It looks good.
Yeah.
Oh, the famous chili.
Oh,
Delish.
God.
Did you spend a whole day with that?
Oh, yeah. We
Yeah,
had
as we get
so
into-
much chili.
I didn't have the pleasure of actually eating any, but it smelled more like tomato sauce than chili.
It's cold tomato sauce with chunks of celery. That's what it is. Maybe a carrot? I don't think so.
Hey,
I
look
think
at
it's just
that,
celery.
Tony. Isn't that amazing? That's CG.
It looks great.
It looks good, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Now this scene, we shot this little bit it was like almost the last day, and
think
we
it
were
might have been
really
the last
punch drunk,
day.
and
Yeah.
Fiona and I were very tired and very silly, but also, as I recall, very jacked up on Starbucks,
Right, those huge.
on those frappuccinos, and so we were just joking about how because Fiona, when we were blocking the scene, we've got those long candlestick things. She's lighting the candles. And she goes, well, what do I do with it afterward? And so we just started joking about how Nika would then just like drop this thing into her lap and it would whoosh.
Just, like, shh, don't tell my sister.
But
a
Auntie
little
Nika,
girl.
shouldn't I call 911? No. Because the character is like, it's so important to Nika that she pull this dinner off without a hitch.
Look at that delicious celery and tomato soup
And poison.
and poison.
This is when I've written all of these Chucky movies, and I guess it becomes an occupational hazard when you write movies about murders. It's just like, how do you kill people, in new and interesting ways? And I was like, well, Chucky has never poisoned anyone before. So I thought that could be kind of interesting.
Something new for you, Don.
Something
Yeah.
new. And I also was like really looking forward to doing this shot.
It's a beautiful shot.
Where we've lost track of which of the bowls is poisoned. We know one of them is. So I wanted this to look like a roulette wheel. Which I think it kind of does.
Oh, yeah.
You get the sense that one of these people is going to die. But who?
Who could it be? This scene took
A whole day.
14 hours, yeah.
Yeah, it was a whole day.
Through Jesus Christ, our Lord, we pray.
I remember candle continuity. People stressing out about that.
Well, the thing that top shot, the crane shot that rose above it, if you look at it really closely, you can see that those candlesticks had all burned down because it was the last shot of the night. Yeah. I mean, the perspective kind of tricks you because you can't really see the length, but they're
Right.
like kind of burned way, way, way down in that shot.
Your daddy would like to make a toast.
Our director of photography, Michael Marshall, did an amazing job. I had seen a movie he had done, Ginger Snaps 2, which was beautiful, and actually it contained a candlelit dinner scene as well. And it was one of the things that I saw in his reel, and I thought, oh, wow, he knows what he's doing.
Was it poison?
It was not, and that was a werewolf movie. Werewolves don't
Ginger
poison
Snaps
people.
2 was a werewolf movie?
Yes. Yeah, it's actually very good. So is the first one.
Oh my God.
That's Brennan Elliott, who plays Ian. And Brennan, I think, Brennan had a hard time because he in real life his wife had just had a baby, and so he had, I think he was just experiencing a lot of stress about being away from his wife and baby, and then he got sick. Remember, he got sick
got
just
really
at the top
sick,
of the
right.
schedule. And his character, I think, was a bit of a challenge to play in a way because until later in the story, he's really, he's just kind of manipulated by all the women
Oh, yeah.
in the story, and I think that kind of was bothering him after a while.
Right. And he had just had his baby, right?
Like
Yeah.
like
Like
a
a
couple of
week.
weeks before.
Yeah. Now let's all eat the chili over and over again. I can never figure out.
That's
Was that
Fiona.
my mouth? Are you
That's
sure?
A. That's Danielle. And that's Brennan.
Where's Maitland?
Maitland was just too pretty.
Hers was too pretty.
No, we just, we couldn't use all of them because it would just get too long. And so we had to use the ones that just had, certain goofy interest.
Tastes funny. Maybe we put too much oregano in.
Alice.
This cue in the music is called Too Much Oregano. Isn't that clever? We did a lot. This is what I hoped would be a very Hitchcockian scene. Just you have all the characters together talking, and we know that one of them is going to die. And so we did a lot of cool camera movements. And this one here, actually, we did a complete 360 around the entire table, and it worked really well, but we had to cut it down slightly in editing. But I still think it's pretty impressive. And as we move in on Father Frank, and finally discern that he's the one who has drawn the the bad hand, so to speak, we move in and see a bead of sweat come down his forehead, which I stole from Total Recall. See? And that's CGI.
Yeah, he wasn't able to produce.
He wasn't able to
perfect
produce a single bead of sweat.
Father, are you all right?
Despite all of the Emmys that he's won.
We did hold it against him.
I'm so sorry.
I think he's really good here.
Oh, he's great.
Father, are you ill?
Oh, no, I'm fine. I have an appointment back at the church.
There's a slight green tinge to the moonlight through the windows here. Which, and we do that at a couple of other points in the movie. It was a little controversial at times with the studio.
Why is that?
Well, just because, it may be an acquired taste, I guess. I mean, traditionally you think of, when in movies, usually moonlight is blue. We wanted to do something a little more interesting, and Michael had actually used it on the werewolf movie. Not on the werewolf movie. He did a Wrong Turn movie where he'd used green moonlight, which I thought was really interesting. A little too green for some taste, though, so we dialed it down a little bit. This is like one of our few scenes that actually takes place not in the house.
Yes.
This way.
This was the second day of shooting?
It was in the first week. I don't know if it was the second day, but it was definitely the first week. And of course, it was freezing cold.
He doesn't drink anymore. You sure about that? He's my sponsor.
Originally, this was a bus crash.
Yeah, originally in the script, I thought it would be kind of fun that, like, Chucky hasn't even spoken in the movie yet, and that his body count would have been in the 30s.
Yeah.
That Father
in.
Frank's car had hit a bus and just taken out dozens of people.
Just hang on, we're gonna get you out. What the hell are you waiting for? Get the shit off him.
I can't make that call.
He's bleeding to death. Get him out.
That's Adam Herdig, who is a Canadian native who plays the cop. He did a great job. Tony, you want to talk about the head? What do you think, Tony? Tony hasn't seen this, so
That looks great. I mean, it's not going to go back together.
There's no saving him.
No, he was great. He came out to our place for a live cast, and just very entertaining, very charming, and did everything you need to do. And we sent his molds off to Bill Terazakis up in Canada, and Bill actually followed through and did the resculpt and made the fake head and the fake body and rigged the blood tubing. And as I recall, the first take of the blood explosion pretty much covered the block. They'd put a tube on that was a little too large, and the pressure was a little too high.
Randomly, our father is Latino.
Look at her.
Well, why not?
Sure.
She's so happy.
I remember when we shot this scene, I was all excited because it was one of the first of many, 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 many split field diopter shots.
Yes.
And I'm running to Maitland and saying, "Oh my God, you've got your diopter shot." She's like, "Great." That's great, Don. No, she was actually humored me. This is funny because Fiona sees Dad. Fiona, can you tell that shot slowed down slightly?
Me?
Your reaction shot it's actually, I slowed it down in editing.
No.
Just because it made it more interesting. There's the diopter.
Right. It's a great shot.
Hey there, Missy. What you up to?
Chucky's gone.
Not again.
Well, where did you leave him?
I did.
And I think that's hopefully interesting for fans that they are starting to realize that Charles Lee Ray himself is going to play a role in the story. That was one of the things I really wanted to do with this movie, was to give Brad a bigger role than he'd had in the last couple of films. For a few years, David Kirshner, our producer, and we were talking about maybe doing a remake of the original film. because that was in vogue for a year or two in Hollywood. But because we did the first movie at MGM and all of the subsequent ones at Universal, so the rights on the first movie were split, and it just becomes a nightmare, a legal nightmare to try to sort all that out. And so after a few years, we decided, let's just do what is strictly a sequel, but do a tonal reboot. So after the comedy of Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, we decided, it's certainly what fans seemed to want, that they wanted Chucky to be scary again. And so I felt that one of the important tools we would have was Brad, was to actually delve a little bit into the backstory of Charles Lee Ray and learn a little more about that. And that's all I have to say about that. This is the section of the movie that I just call the Maitland McConnell show.
Yes.
This is like where Jill is looking for Chucky, who's hiding. And it reminds me of Hammer films, Hammer horror films, where you've got a beautiful girl wandering a huge gothic space looking for trouble. It's one of our first Chucky POV shots.
Yeah, I love these.
There he goes.
Yes.
That's Debbie Carrington.
Oh, that was Debbie.
That was Debbie, yeah. Actually, that was Cody. Cody was a little actor from Winnipeg that we used for a few shots, but then we had Debbie for 2 weeks. Debbie, who has doubled Tiffany and Chucky for 15 years now.
She was so much fun.
Now, this scene, I don't know if you guys remember, is originally scripted. When Jill walks up to the shower, pulls it back, and is startled by the sudden appearance of a crow. It was originally supposed to be a crow is in there, and then it flies out. Well, through some weird, but weirdly not all that unusual snafu, it turned out that the bird that was coming to us was not going to be a crow, but it was going to be a vulture.
Are you serious?
Yes.
Yes.
Oh my gosh.
Which would have been
Hilarious.
correct for Bride or Seed, because it would have been. But that actually works very well. I mean, I'm glad that it just became simpler. And I knew I wanted to have a jump scare there. So just like the wind blowing the window open, I think works pretty well, rather than
Yeah.
A vulture.
a vulture in the house.
That's pretty amazing. There's a knife missing.
Uh-oh.
Need a hand?
Now, people who watch the movie, this always takes people by surprise. I'm very gratified by that. People are just like, I did not see that coming. And this was a scene that the crew was really, really looking forward to shooting.
We're just silent through it. There's nothing else to really say. I was not on set for it, though it was all the buzz around.
Now, Fiona, I remember this bit of business
God.
you were not happy about, but I don't remember why.
I don't remember why. I just feel like it wasn't. Oh, I know.
I mean,
think
these
you
are
were
some of my
asking me
favorite
to
shots
not-
of you.
Looks great.
Is this stuff with you in the light?
Yeah, I really like it too. There was something that I wasn't doing right. We had to do it 9 times, and I don't remember what it was.
I think there was just something about the wheelchair and you're coming in that it just felt artificial to you or
Oh,
something.
to turn around and get
Yeah.
it in front of the light was your issue.
Oh, I'm sure that's what it is, yeah.
Because you had to pass in front of it
I think she wanted you
and then turn around and then pass back.
The wheelchair stuff was kind of tricky, and I really relied on Fiona a lot to make that believable. It turned out that Fiona had actually played a disabled character before, right?
Yeah, I did for a Hallmark movie.
So that was a boon to us that you had that experience with that.
I can do some tricks in a wheelchair, no big deal. But I can.
I like to be hugged.
Oh, and?
Well, it's a constant prop that you have a prop 100% of the movie that you're constantly having to use, and that's a lot harder to pull off than it might seem. And I think that it looks really effortless with you. And maybe that was one of the things, although in your audition you didn't have an actual wheelchair.
You didn't have a wheelchair, no.
I just knew that it was going to work.
Yeah, I've got the corner on the market on paraplegics. I'm just going to be the go-to girl.
And this was a tough bit to shoot, this thing in the elevator here. I think it turned out really well, and I love the music here. This is one of my favorite things that Joe LaDuca did, this orchestration.
I really liked shooting this because from the moment the elevator started, nobody could talk to me or direct. Do you remember? I just had to pace the scene and go through it completely by myself. Felt very...
So you're saying that you just liked not being able to direct you?
I liked being in total control. There's no room in the elevator for anybody or anything besides me and the camera, I think. Right?
Well, there was room for a camera operator, but the issue was the weight.
Right, yeah.
Was that it couldn't, the rig, this whole setup with the rig wouldn't have accommodated it.
Yeah, I remember being nervous about that. About falling to my death. 20 feet, though, or less than that.
Now, one of the issues we had in color correction was the amount of detail that we should be able to see in your face here. I would have actually gone with a little less detail, but the studio just wanted to be able to see your gorgeous face a little bit. So, speaking of gorgeous faces, here are some more.
2 of them.
What is it? Actually, one of the fun things about doing this movie was that we had a lot of beautiful girls around all the time.
See, with her, it's always something. She needs my help and then resents me.
And it was also, this movie was shot, we had 30 days, which is, the other ones we had 50 to 60. So as Tony and Fiona were saying, it was just a sprint to get everything done.
Oh, yeah.
But it was so fast that it was just like we would weekly lose an actor. You know, just like someone would get killed and then they would be gone. And it's just like our numbers would be reduced every week. So by the last week, it was just me and Fiona and Tony.
And Debbie Carrington.
Yeah.
It's true.
Oh, and all of those other people who do whatever.
Yeah, whatever they did. I don't even
No,
know.
our crew in Winnipeg was fantastic.
Amazing. The first AD in particular was mind-blowing.
Doug Mitchell, yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, and Tony, you had to work very closely with Doug, didn't you? I mean, because Doug had not done a puppet show, but well, no, he had. He had done Todd and the Book of Evil, that Canadian TV show, but he hadn't done it as extensively as a Chucky movie.
No, but he was really wanting to understand how everything worked and how much time things took to set up. I mean, he was really all about time management, and
yeah, he was great.
The last week with 3 units going and him effortlessly running all of them was just amazing.
Yeah, he made both our lives easier.
Yeah. And then he apologized for losing his cool. He's like, I'm really sorry I just lost my cool there. I'm like, dude, if that's you losing your cool, that was nothing. He got a little tense about something, and that was about it.
No, he was great. I also feel like the first AD sets the tone of the whole experience.
Yeah, he's a very affable guy and really, really prepared and really knew what he was doing. This is one of my favorite scenes in the movie.
13%.
Yeah. I just like. Did you say yeah?
Is that a yes or no?
It's hard to.
This is. I know this is like weird for you guys. It's just like because especially I can see Tony like watching it because he hasn't really seen it before and how.
What I didn't realize when we were filming is so much of the camera angles are the camera's eye level is Fiona's.
Yeah. Yeah.
And you're getting everything from her perspective. Everybody's talking down to her and everything else. It's really, really cool.
That's why it was vital that we have ceilings on the set, which was a bit of a fight initially.
Yeah, there was a
because
debate.
That's not inexpensive because to have to generally if you don't have to have ceilings, you can sort of rig your lights up there and it makes life easier or at least faster.
Yeah.
But I was really adamant about we needed to see the ceilings because, as you say, this is a movie that takes place from Nika's point of view and from a doll's point of view.
Right, yeah, totally.
And so you need to see the world from their perspective. And, as the story goes on, at the beginning of the story, Nika is kind of intimidated. And as the movie progresses, that perspective changes a little bit as she becomes empowered.
Yes, totally.
What was cool about there being ceilings on all the rooms is you felt like you were in a real environment the whole time, too.
Oh, yeah, big time. It felt like a house.
And we weren't 4 feet off the real floor this time.
Right.
Or
That
under
was
the
that was a
ground.
new innovation that we didn't have to build the set 6 feet off the floor as we've always had to do previously.
We tried to make our lives a little simpler this time.
Do you want to talk about that?
No.
How did you?
We took advantage of the digital technology and realized that you could put the puppeteers right next to the puppet and digitally remove a rod, or if we wanted to tether electronics out of the head, we didn't necessarily have to have everything go through a hole in the floor, which was an amazing experience. We had a radio control head, we had some radio control arms, and I think one of the things that really made a difference for us was, again, the fact that there was no time. You had storyboarded everything, and we all stuck to the storyboards, so we could really plan each shot. And I think that's what Doug really excelled at too, was mapping everything out so that it was ready to be in front of the camera, one after the other, before the clock ran out at the end of the day.
Right. Yeah, the storyboards were vital for this movie. I mean, on Seed of Chucky, I storyboarded it as much as I could as well, just because that's the way I like to work. But it was even more important for a movie of this size. It's a 30-day shoot, and we had to, I think on Seed of Chucky we probably averaged like 12 to 15 setups a day, and this movie we had to average more like 20 to 25. So it really needed to be planned down to a T. But to me, that's part of the fun. Anyway, I really like that part of the process.
And for us, we knew we could survive 30 days at breakneck pace, whereas double that, we would have been dead. Because we had no maintenance crew. We were the puppeteers and our own maintenance crew.
Right.
It was very limited as far as, as far as all the resources went, really. But that was, in a twisted way, that was definitely part of the fun, too.
And you didn't get any downtime.
No.
Because day one was the scene with Alex Vincent.
Yeah.
Right, that's right.
Through the table with supports that we couldn't remove.
Yeah, and it worked. You guys were on it. It's such difficult circumstances, but as it always happens, it's like you pull out a great performance from Chucky.
Well, the nice thing too was it was Lilo Tavo and Peter Shavako and myself as the lead puppeteers, and we had all done Seed, and we'd all had to wrangle all three of those different characters in different capacities. And Peter handles mechanics and Lilo handles cosmetics. So there was familiarity and a solid foundation there. And then to add Bill Terzakis, who we'd worked with actually about 10 years ago in Canada.
On what?
There was a shorthand. It was a horror movie with Snoop Dogg called Bones.
Oh, right. I remember that.
And we'd stayed in touch, and it was great having him on set. He's hilarious and super talented to boot. But to be able to sort of throw the responsibilities around was awesome.
This is the stage 2 doll looking creepy.
Yeah.
You fucking should be.
And that music cue is called You Fucking Should Be.
Yeah.
It is.
I want this wallpaper.
It's great. The whole, all the textures in the house are great. You know, I'm trying to be less self-involved watching this, but all I can think of is like,
Is what?
it's just
You wish you still had that
bullshit.
nightgown, right?
I have the nightgown.
Do you
I got
really?
a nightgown, yeah. Oh yeah, big time. I wore it for Halloween.
Oh, that's great.
Oh, I'm sorry. You'll have to repeat that because the audience at home was just terrified by that moment.
Oh, I'm sorry.
They were shocked. So
I just called the delivery company.
now this scene, this was funny.
So-
This scene was much longer in the original version, but it was just too long and whispery.
Yes, I deliver a very long, lengthy, moody monologue here.
So what are we missing here? What can you fill us in on?
Well, actually, what substantially what we lost was some character stuff for Jill, because what happens is Nika.
I mean, she does more than
asks-
just make out with other girls, is what you're saying.
Well, Nika, in fact, says, you know, I wanted to ask you. I feel like something's going on with my sister. Do you think?
Oh.
Do you think she, you know, is having? Basically, she says,
Right.
do you think she's having an affair? Is she doesn't say it in so many words, but she says that, and we
She
know that
whispers
with
it,
that
though.
Jill, we knew she whispers it. We know that Jill is having an affair, and so we got to see, like, you know, this kind of shame from Jill, and it was interesting. But it's just like at this point in the story, you kind of want to stay on point with Chucky. You know, it's just
Yeah.
like
Got
the
it.
issue of Chucky and what's going on with Chucky. And so to stop the movie for a minute or two to talk about this, it was unfortunately it had to go for pacing.
Right.
Now this reminds me of what was the phrase in the script that you're always teasing me about with it's not with shocking surprise, it's with creeping trepidation. With creeping trepidation. Because like this was a scene that was like really rushed in terms of like we had to shoot.
Oh man, was it maybe the last day?
It was like right near the end.
Yeah.
Definitely right near the end. And so we had 2 cameras and we were just flying by the seat of our pants. And so I'm like talking
3 cameras.
I'm talking Fiona through, you know, what she's doing, and I'm reading the script as with creeping
Trepidation, fear.
I don't
fear.
see enough trepidation on your face. Not of the creeping variety, anyway.
Right. Fair.
And when Maitland came in to Loop and she saw this, she goes, "Oh my God, my stomach looks awesome."
It's because Danielle Basutti was taking us on these insane workouts at the Y, where they were just painful. We were doing like 500 lunges, you know?
I loved that Danielle kind of she was like her character in that way, that she was like a bit of the bossy den mother.
Oh,
The mom.
The mom, yeah.
Yes. She changed the way I exercise. No big deal.
To this day.
Yeah,
Really?
absolutely. Yeah, I call it the Basutti workout. So does Maitland.
Oh, you know what we talked over? Andy Barkley. We're just
In case nobody knew or can make the connection.
we would joke about how we would really the best version of that would be to have Fiona look right into the lens and go, Andy Barkley.
Remember, guys?
That
Andy
little boy.
She takes off her ring here.
Ba-doing.
There's something very Looney Tunes about that shot, isn't it? About Chucky like running out of the frame there. Now this is the scene. I don't think I know Tony hasn't seen it. I don't think Fiona you've seen the final special effects on this. This electrocution was originally planned to be pretty realistic, and I actually had Maitland look at the scene from The Believers, that Martin Sheen movie, where there's a really
Oh,
disturbing and very realistic electrocution, which is what we did. That's what we shot. But it turned out it just wasn't enough. And I guess it was just because of the context of a movie with a killer doll running around killing people. Especially at this point in the movie, we're 45, 50 minutes in or whatever. 50 minutes, there we go. Ding. Isn't that impressive that I knew that?
Wow.
You've seen this movie
like you've been in the editing
many
bay
times.
with it.
Yeah. But look, tell me, guys, tell me what you think of this, but only say positive things.
Oh, that looks terrible. No, that's...
Well, look what's happening to her eye. So we did some stuff with CG to sort of like create trauma, physical trauma, that I think is kind of disturbing. It's like, oh my God, my father.
There's the guy. Wow, that's so weird. He looks exactly like me.
Look at her eye.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, that's great. Look at Chucky.
Oh, that hurts.
That was a doll.
No, that was a stunt woman.
Can't live with them. Period.
Wasn't that a great scene?
Yeah, I liked that death, definitely.
Chucky.
And it didn't quite get silly.
Oh, Tony, what do you think of this? Look at this.
Oh, that's really great. The music, everything, it works so well.
What's going on?
And then when we're done later, Tony's gonna go, "What the fuck was off with that?" shot?"
I gotta go smoke a cigarette, man.
I have to take this off my resume.
This was a fun.
Delete.
This was a fun scene to shoot, actually, because this was the scene where Brennan, who plays Ian, finally got to like turn the tables, and be his character becomes more active here, and so he was in a markedly better mood. He's really good, don't you?
He's so good in this scene.
I mean, they
too.
both are.
Yeah, absolutely.
Now, didn't he do a Hallmark movie or two as well up in Winnipeg?
Yeah, I think actually when we finished the film, he was going off to do a Hallmark. I think it was for Hallmark. I can't say for Hallmark.
We have like a little list of companies we're supposed to be plugging. here,
Right.
Yeah. Hallmark's gonna.
But he was doing a TV series with Andy McDowell.
Really?
Yeah. He works all the time. I mean, he did a Hawaii 5-0 recently.
I'm not sleeping with the nanny.
No, of course, you couldn't be that stupid, Barb. Knowing that if I could prove such a thing, I could easily take Allison.
I love her costume here, too. I love that she's like...
in full lipstick.
In full lipstick. She seems... But it's just almost seems like she wears the pants in the family.
Yeah.
I hidden the doll today.
Our costume designer was a Canadian named Patty Henderson, and she did a fantastic job.
I am not going to let you destroy this family because of your sick, paranoid accusations. Oh, that's what tuned me out. Let Barb take care of everything.
And that's something he did in his first audition, and I said like, I was like, we have to keep that. This is like actually all of the actors I think they would all have like little bits of business that they worked out in their audition. That's probably why I ended up casting them. It's something I like. It's like the little things that I just find delightful. Like for Chantal, this was at the beginning of the movie, but in her audition, she did this thing with her glasses. When Fiona's at the door with Jordan, flirting, and the mom is like rolling her eyes, and she did this thing where she takes her glasses off that I just loved. So it was like we had one night to shoot at this house in Winnipeg. And this way you were there for a while, and Brad was there.
Yeah, we were there for a minute, and then we went to that fancy restaurant, which was really fun.
Right.
And this was pretty early on, right? All this attic stuff.
But first we have to do the fight between you and your sister, which was fairly late in the schedule. This scene. And this is one of my favorite scenes too. I mean, you guys were looking forward to doing this, weren't you?
Yeah, definitely.
Fiona's cringing.
I am. I'm bad at watching
Here come the De
myself.
Palma stutter cuts. Which now seem self-conscious to me, but
I think it's great.
You guys can be self-depreciating.
we'd later. It's like, what the hell was I thinking? I don't think anybody else wanted me to do that.
Wait a second.
Those
really?
jump cuts. I was so excited
You were
about doing
really excited about him, though.
it. I know, but
Why didn't you tell
this is, I always thought of this is the who's on third scene, because it's like, Barb thinks they're talking about the nanny cam hidden in the doll. Fiona thinks they're talking about the soul hidden in the doll.
I understand.
And they're talking past one another.
Right.
No, Barb, this isn't about anything. But you know what, Mika? It isn't my fault. Okay?
And she was really impressive in her audition for this scene. It was one of the reasons I cast her, is that she, this character, other than Chucky, is the closest the movie comes to a villain. And every horror movie needs one of these characters, someone whose death you're kind of looking forward to. You really want to see Chucky do it. But she actually brought dimension to that character that I didn't even really anticipate, that I really like, that she, has suggestions of pain and stuff going on between the sisters. I think you guys worked really hard on that, and I really like
Jill's a little busy right now.
So this was really difficult.
and you
we're
did it
about to watch.
it's so awesome. You did such a great job.
So I dragged myself up these stairs many, many times. And it was a lot of physical work, actually.
Some nice biceps, though.
Yeah, I was looking at that. I mean, God, I was just thinking the same thing.
CG spiderweb.
Oh, I missed it.
A wheelchair.
What?
Oh my God.
Where's the
Scary.
Doesn't
kid?
really quite work as the thing is that it's like a child-sized wheelchair, but the stupid director didn't shoot it right. Because you don't really have any sense of scale with it, so you don't perceive that it's like a sad child's wheelchair.
Got it.
Now, this scene was one of the most difficult for us. It's because we shot the bulk of it in the first week, and it was the first time. Oh, look at this, Tony. This actually worked well. Watch.
Oh, that's cool. Here I am.
And here she is,
Dragging
climbing the stairs. With the camera mounted on her head.
Yeah, a big crane above
One
me.
of the many cranes in this movie.
Right.
The high angle stuff, though, really sells the whole thing.
Yeah.
Alice, please.
Anyway, so when we were shooting this scene, we fell behind and we had to lose some shots, and then we had to like reschedule some shots, and so we were basically shooting little pieces of this scene throughout the entire shoot. And it's like one of those things where it's a good thing that we had storyboarded it, because there's no way it would have come together.
We had to go in specific order, too, because we only had so many head skins and we had to transition.
Right. Well, this is the scene where where Chucky, transitions from his good guy face to scar face. And so that's doll number one, right? That's doll number one.
Mm-hmm.
Doll number two makes an appearance a little bit later, and then we have to have a seamless segue into doll number three.
But there's a transition between those.
Oh, when we get to it, talk about that. Meanwhile, back
on the stairs.
But as you'll see, Tony, the peeling and stuff,
Peely?
all peely, yeah, it worked really well. You guys did a great job with that. This rat was very annoying.
Why?
It just wouldn't act.
Would not listen.
He wasn't a very good actor. Ractor. So this is the doll we called Peely, for reasons that will become obvious.
What's wrong?
Over the years, I probably look at stuff about Chucky online way more than I should. But the upside of it is that I sort of know what the fans are talking about, and I know what they want. And one of the issues is Chucky going to have his Scarface from Bride of Chucky and Seed of Chucky, or is he going to be, the original? And so knowing that going in, I thought, well, we've got to have both, obviously, because that'll be the most fun. And I just love the idea that Chucky had disguised himself. And I remember, Tony, when I wrote it in the script, I remember it was one of the first things I asked you about is like how we would do this.
And you were also asking how you could justify it story-wise.
You mean practically speaking, like how did Chucky? What is it? Spirit gum or
mortician's wax? See, stuff like this. Oh my God! I'm just anxiously waiting for him to peel his face off.
Here it comes. I remember this was like toward the end of the schedule, and it was something we were so worried about, and you guys did it like great.
There is no God.
A lot of talk about God in this movie.
I know.
Don't really know why.
But that whole sequence where you can have puppeteers right behind the puppet with rods going into the feet and run it across the room.
Always too fucking close together.
It's so liberating to be able to do a great performance with resources like that. Meanwhile, back on the stairs.
Second stairs.
Yeah, so this was a separate set. Also on the soundstage.
This is another thing I just remember having to like, okay, here comes the eyeball down at you. And cringe.
Screen! And not quite yet. This is...
What?
But when I exit the scene... Oh, this was cool. This was a stunt double that actually did...
Oh, yeah,
down
she
the
was
stairs
great.
At me. Yeah.
What were you thinking right there, Fiona?
She's not watching. She's like covering her eyes. Not out of fear, by the way.
It's hard to watch yourself.
You know, over the years, there have been certain cynical fans who would often say, why are you afraid? Why would anyone be afraid of Chucky? He's just this little doll. You could kick him. And that was really the inspiration for having this character be disabled and in a wheelchair, because it gave her a special vulnerability to Chucky. And I also like that it exists now in this subgenre of thrillers with the disabled heroine, like Lady in a Cage with Olivia de Havilland was a real inspiration. Whatever Happened to Baby Jane, Audrey Hepburn's Wait Until Dark. I really love that genre.
I'm gonna get you.
Look at this. This is real Chucky, practical. And that's amazing. These shots of Chucky. Remember how jubilant we were that day when you guys came in and just knocked that out of the park. We went, yay!
We, of course, had practiced in the commissary for about an hour and a half, and then just walked upstairs with it.
No.
And I can't find Alice.
Chucky!
Alice! Alice!
This scene turned out really well. I know I wanted to do a whole 48 frames per second slow motion scene of them running out of the house. And I really like it.
Yeah, I think it's beautiful.
And I really like the music here. The orchestration of the Chucky theme is very cool. But I remember must have been hard for Brennan, right? Because we did this a lot, didn't we?
Yeah. No, it was kind of okay.
No. Yeah, you said yeah, no.
Yeah, no. The garage stuff got a little tedious with me and Brennan.
And here's another shot that just like went off without a hitch. I think we did 3 or 4 takes of this, and you guys, puppeteers, got it every time. This.
I, of course, nailed it every time.
Well, I knew you guys would nail it every time. So this scene was very early in the shoot. This was like, I think it was
my first day.
Really?
It was my first day, yeah.
Leave him alone.
And this is an actual garage. We're actually shooting in an actual garage for an entire night.
Until like 5 in the morning, and then we got locked in. Remember, the people who owned the property put their truck in the driveway so nobody was able to exit because of money.
Oh, right.
Remember that?
Alice.
That's pretty funny.
I think that the garage scene turned out really well.
What the?
Look at this little bug on the floor. Can you see that? You can't see.
Oh, yeah, there it is.
We added lens flare there.
That's great. I
feel
thought
like
there
we're all
were some
getting-
relationship issues there with you and the puppet.
God, Dad, just leave me alone.
Listen to that.
Leadfoot.
Yeah, we were in this garage for a long time.
The smoke machine.
There's a lot of.
He's pretty good on that pedal, I have to say, considering he's sliding around on the front seat.
There's a lot of discussion about whether to do it or not. Like when we were doing the sound, did it make sense?
It amps the scene up for sure.
Well, that's the thing. I think it's worth doing. I wish we had done a shot of Chucky. It would have been so easy to do.
Right.
But we never did it. It's just a shot of with his foot or his hand just like revving the accelerator. I love that. Like swallowing.
You asked us to do the weirdest stuff on this one.
Look at me.
Well, you got to mix it up. It's like 6 movies on.
And that would always be the thing that we forgot about. And then it's that night. It's like, oh my God, how are we going to swallow the key?
What have you done?
This is something Fiona worried a lot about.
Mm-hmm.
But you did it great. This heart episode. I need you to take this, and I need you to inject it under my rib.
Under my rib.
Rib.
Take this.
So is it watching this?
She's just, I wish, like, this is the picture
do a
we should,
video?
this is the
Yeah.
picture you should tweet. Oh, one of the things we did in the sound there was add the heartbeat.
Oh, yeah.
And your heart is slowing down. It's really cool.
Oh, that's great.
Yeah.
That's great. And there's Chucky. Chucky was on this little sliding board there, which was very cool.
Stolen from the camera department.
Really? So this scene, this initial scene, I thought was going to be, I thought it just didn't go well. And I was wrong. Yeah.
In what way did you think it didn't go well?
Based on previous experiences tied to wheelchairs.
I'm about to go shoot a movie where I'm tied to a bed for like a week and a half, actually.
Do you get artificially inseminated by a doll?
Oh, God. No. That's
we
hopefully
did that
next
to Jennifer.
time. Yeah.
One of the things, if I may pay you a compliment, Fiona, is that, but I've said this 2 million times, but that you, as an actress, you register horror and anguish so well, and it's this obviously a really important thing to have in a horror movie heroine. It was one of the things that we saw in your first audition.
Well, she's the one that you're supposed to relate to, and if it's not real,
well, it's also it speaks to tone as well, and that this movie needed to feel grounded in reality, and Fiona really makes you buy it. It makes you believe that. What's another thing I used to say to you all the time is that I believe there's just something about your face, the particular kind of what I always see as like a Hammer horror heroine beauty that you have, but I believe supernatural things would happen to you.
Thank you.
And that's, not all actors have that. Some great actors, they just don't seem like they could straddle a line between the real world and the world where dolls come to life and stalk you. And part of this movie relies on your ability to sell that, and you are very, very successful at that.
Thank you. So another thing about making a movie like this as an actress is it's really, really tiring to get to have that amount of just like adrenaline, over and over in hour 12. I was just like delirious, kind of.
We were just beat up literally every day.
Totally beat up.
It was weird on the set for me because as a director, I hadn't experienced this before. There was so much angst in this story, mostly with your character, Fiona, but also with Brennan, who's about to die spectacularly. They're so often on the set, between takes, you're over in a corner, like sobbing, and Brennan's over in the other corner sobbing. Oh, I love that. That's so cool.
You people are sick.
I mean...
Oh, Tony.
Ultimately, this was just really fun. I had a really good time shooting this movie. But I remember at the end of this sequence took 3 days up in this room. We were in there forever. Just getting exhausted by crying.
My turn.
I feel like I look like a completely different person there.
Yeah, that's what's so cool, though.
Because you're empowered.
You're
taking
like a freaking
control.
chameleon.
This is one of my favorite Chucky shots, Tony, is Chucky getting up here. It just looks so real.
Like he's got
it's so
some
great.
I remember that.
This was all last day stuff. We finally got it down by the last day.
In fact, this is the sequence where there's like 45 people lining this room, right? The whole crew. And Don Mancini comes in and everybody's quiet. Doug gets everybody quiet. And he acts out this entire sequence for I don't know, 90 seconds or something. And Don's like arms flailing, running around the room. And then he goes here. And then it chop off. And then Chucky's like, ha ha ha. And then he gets up and you kind of need to see.
Well, they filmed it.
See the,
and then you have
and
you get an hour to do it.
Go.
Am I going to be right?
Also, you always did this voice. Chucky, your Chucky has this kind of like high timbre to it. I love this shot.
That's turned out really well.
This is really
So there'll
cool.
be things that people will think are CG too. So
that is not CG.
It'll be interesting.
It's only Chucky coming down the stairs was CG. Now it's all Tony Gardner all the time.
Oh, God.
I think that the real puppet looks better than the CG usually.
Of course, it's very important.
Until I leave the room. Oh, thank God he's gone.
I love this. This is this is so gothic. And listen to the music on the crane shot. This is like one of my favorite things in the movie. It was one of the things I was most looking forward to doing. And just, okay, we're going to go quiet here, listeners, so that Tony and Fiona can listen to this. Watch. Isn't that cool?
That's
Yeah,
awesome.
it's really
It's
cool.
really cool.
You think this is a $5 million movie? There's like no way.
Oh,
Just
yeah.
this whole part right here.
Debbie Carrington. This is Debbie,
That's Debbie
right?
Carrington,
Yeah.
yep.
She had that movement nailed too.
But I love, I mean, the shot is really cool, if I may say so. But just the whole, how everything came together, just like Chucky and the music.
Yeah.
It's very, I love that.
I love
This
the quiet
was-
little moment here.
This was a cool scene to do because in the read-through, it's the only time when I've ever really acted with my dad. So
Well, I
that was
remember you were a
interesting.
little wary of it for a while, weren't you?
I was a little nervous about.
This is day one.
This
This is the very. This is
my
that
dad.
shot was the very first shot of the movie, that pivot around Brad.
My dad gave me those glasses, and I wear them every day of
Oh,
my
really?
life.
Really?
They're on my head right now. Here they are. There's the Charles Lee Ray glasses. He wanted to give them to you, Dawn, and I said that he shouldn't.
Thanks a lot.
I was like, but I'll wear them every day.
And this little girl at first was really afraid of
cute.
Brad.
Really?
Yes, at first she cried, but then Brad was really cool and got, just was very, very sweet with her. And
He's great with kids. My dad.
well, you turned out pretty well, so he must have been.
God damn it.
This was also first day. All this like first day stuff.
Okay. I was flying into Winnipeg that day. Is that the deal? They also, Universal
No,
flew me.
you were here before we started shooting.
Universal flew me out a week early to see my dad work. Do you remember?
Yeah.
Which is like, I'm so grateful for. It's just like the nicest thing in the world. The luckiest person on the planet.
Did we talk about Chantal enough? I love Chantal, who plays your mom.
Yeah, she's great. Also really beautiful.
Yeah, really beautiful, a great actress. Now this scene is interesting. Another like design thing I was really looking forward to doing was it's kind of Sin City, the introduction of like the yellow into the black and white. I think it worked pretty well. The sunflowers were an important story point early in the movie. We see that she's obsessed with painting the sunflowers, and we see them all in the attic, and we don't quite know why. Now we do.
Anyway, enjoy.
This was also very early in the schedule. I think that they worked really well together. They really liked each
They
other.
really liked each other. Yeah, totally.
We have some time.
You and Claudia were here, weren't you? when we were shooting?
I watched this shot and I remember my dad was very on, he was like hilarious in between
Yeah,
takes.
he was
Do you
very
remember?
entertaining the crew. Yeah.
he was
Sort of
really, he
being
was really
Brad Dourif.
happy. Yeah.
Well, I've known your dad for a long time. Actually met your dad before you were born at Columbia.
Funny. Yeah, that's right.
Columbia University, where I audited an acting class that he taught. But I've never seen him so happy as he was on this movie.
I know.
Which was great.
Also, it's worth saying my dad he's probably the best dad ever in the world. It's really
Chucky
kinda
is
true.
the best dad in the
True.
world.
He's pretty great. He's pretty great.
Well, I think that's one of the things that the crew really enjoyed is that Brad is so friendly and so expansive in sort of like joking around.
He was
and,
accessible, and he was such the proud dad.
He
yeah,
was such the proud
so
It was
proud.
great.
I know it was a real moment in like the Dourif family history. I'm not kidding. I felt like it was surreal even. It was such like a kind of dream. Also, one of my earliest memories of my entire life has to do with Chucky. And walking into an office somewhere in Los Angeles and having my dad screaming bloody murder, doing the ADR of being burned alive in the first Chucky, and I had to have been 5 or 6 or something, and really, really, really being scared, and I ran away. Nobody could find me. I hid under a desk, and that's one of my earliest memories.
And here you are.
Here you are.
So this scene was incredibly gruesome initially.
Not anymore.
Wow, that's it? Huh, interesting.
And
Claudio
should I say about that is that my interest in the blood in that scene was really mostly aesthetic because I just liked the idea of the red and the yellow and the black and white. And we play with colors there on the neon there. These are shots from Child's Play 1.
The original Child Play. And this is what year? 87?
88.
88. I was 7. So I was
Shut
6.
Don was a seasoned vet.
I must have been 6 when I saw my dad do the ADR.
When was that?
Not that anybody cares, but I'm very fixated on it.
When did you first see Child's Play?
Oh, when I was way older.
Took me 25 years.
I'm bad at watching horror movies. I get too scared.
Was worth
I haven't seen too many. I don't know if I've seen any horror movies with you other than this one. Tony has done a lot of amazing horror movies.
Wait, I'm what? In?
I said you have done. Well, yes, you are in. You were.
I thought you were talking about Seed of Chucky.
Tony got really well decapitated in Seed of Chucky, but
Right, I remember that. That was great.
Always my favorite.
But Tony did one of my favorite monsters ever. It's not a monster; it's a zombie from Return of the Living Dead.
Right.
That woman, that half woman,
the half corpse.
Do you remember that time we went to the screening at the New Beverly?
Oh, that was great.
With Lucy Lawless.
Yeah, and Debbie.
Yeah.
Yeah. That was so much fun. I love this whole scene because it's really all about the relationship.
25 years
Yeah.
ago.
And
look at that. That
it
looks
all
really cool.
works,
Did you see
yeah.
that?
Great,
That was
yeah.
like puppet walking. That's great stuff.
Living. You've just been on life support.
it would just be so easy with rehearsal. That was really the challenge.
No rehearsal.
Just time.
Actually killed Andy Barclay.
I love that Chucky is not only is he this vicious killer, he's also a dick.
Yeah, I know.
And this is just he's just needling this poor girl about being disabled.
He's a dick. Slow.
Yeah, no, I get that.
Yeah, no.
So Don loved that. I made sure to not ever say no, but to always say
just
yeah,
like we
no.
did take after take after take, and she always said yeah, no, yeah, no, yeah, no, and I would say what is this? Your generation has this thing about saying yeah, no.
Here's my platypus. See if you can see me move my legs.
Don't point that out. La 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 la.
It's kind of. Do you know how fucking hard that was?
I think your legs slipped on the blood. I don't.
Yeah.
Look so this is now augmented with CG blood. I mean, it's real blood and CG blood. Ooh, look at that.
Oh God!
Isn't that cool?
This was such a tight, cramped space.
Oh. Another thing that happened, sorry, I keep on talking about my physical ailments, but during this was like the last week, and when I was stabbing the doll, I hurt my neck.
That's right.
I pulled my neck, but I pulled my neck to the point that I couldn't move it for 3 days. It was really painful.
Well, I remember you're calling me the night before we were going to shoot in the courtroom, and you're saying,
I can't move my neck. That was probably it, because I was stabbing a styrofoam Chucky.
So what did you think, Tony? That all turned out really well, don't you think?
Awesome, yeah.
You can't really say anything else.
I've got nothing to say other than it's snowing.
Oh,
It's snowing stuffing, Chucky stuffing.
There's a couple shots of that where the snow just never stops coming.
We fixed that. That was in the rough cut you saw, but we
It was
fixed
great. It was hilarious.
It's one of the many Mancini themes. We've got snow.
I think
That's
that's
a great scream.
Thanks.
When the scream then trails into the siren.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So arty.
I try. I really.
Oh, you can really see that the Alexa. This is a function of the digital camera here. That's like when the flashing lights, you get that weird.
Is that strobing
effect.
almost?
Yeah.
I never saw it. I didn't.
Otherwise, I mean, I loved. I was afraid actually of shooting digitally because I'd never done it before, but I ended up loving it. I love the Alexa.
All the other Chuckies were shot on film?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm in so
It's the
much
feral
actual
child.
pain here.
You're in actual pain.
I'm in incredible pain with my back and neck. That's what I remember.
Adam Herdig, who plays the cop here, he's just like one of the things I loved about him is that he's just so effortless about doing stuff like this. Like I just like, okay, well, you come in, with the light and the gun, and he just just totally sells it physically.
Oh yeah. He's very good.
Extremely nice guy too. Everyone in Winnipeg is so nice.
We had a really good time.
Yeah, we did.
We really
had
did.
A really nice time.
Other than the crazy lady in the elevator, everybody was awesome.
And Tony, do you remember when we did the shot? You proposed doing Chucky's hair. You remember you had styled Chucky's hair, and he was kind of like Alfalfa from the Little Rascals. And it was kind of interesting, but remember we had
he was
we
trying
had
to clean himself up.
But like this guy, I don't know if David's gonna go for that. So we took pictures of it for David and sent it to David. It's like, I don't think so. But it was interesting.
I loved shooting this scene, actually.
Oh, we stayed so far away from you this day. Oh my God.
I actually had a blast. There's a lot of.
You're really great. Your final,
extras.
your little laughter to yourself as you're wheeled away is really excellent.
Thanks. Yeah.
Alive, you son of a bitch, you hear me? I'm still alive!
Still alive. Do you remember Doug? Doug had like 400 people just be completely silent. It was crazy. They were so
Diopter. Yet another diopter. I love them.
You need a little flashing light that comes up on the corners for your diopter shots.
Now, this scene is meant both in content and in visual style to evoke Bride of Chucky with the garage setting, the wet down, the bluish light, the cop in the car. Even his the lines of dialogue are the same as Bride of Chucky.
Hey, it's me. Yeah, I'm on my way. And don't forget my money.
This was like at 3 or 4 in the morning. Something.
After the courtroom.
Yeah.
That's right.
This is a really cool effect. This worked well. Surprise! Jennifer Tilly's in the movie.
They never learn. So,
Next.
This is a shot we called the sachet. Every movie with Jennifer Tilly has to have such a shot to show off her legs and her walk.
3-day, 2-day, or overnight?
Overnight. It's extremely urgent.
Agile?
Surprisingly not.
This clerk is so good.
Her name is
too.
Candace, and she was great.
She's fucking hilarious.
Under $250 then. Would you like to insure the package?
Oh, that won't be necessary.
It protects you and it protects the recipient.
I doubt that.
I think, I mean, we're recording this at the end of May. I guess this comes out in September. So we'll see how, I mean, I feel like the surprise of Jennifer being in the movie and Alex Vincent being in the movie, I feel like we've successfully kept a lid on that.
So
But
far,
again,
so
it's
good.
only May, so who knows? Now, Fiona, you haven't seen this, have you?
Nope. I saw it on your computer.
This was a tricky one to shoot.
This was very tricky because she was scared of the Chucky with scars. So we had to resort to special effects and pleading and all kinds of things to get.
Chucky, you found me.
I told you I would.
Where's Grandma?
In the cellar.
What's she doing down there?
Nothing.
Chucky, Mommy and Daddy are dead. Auntie Nika killed them.
That bitch.
Your friend to the end.
See, that's a visual effect.
Really?
Yeah, because she wouldn't do the scene with him.
Oh, God.
Hide the soul. And guess what? You're
I mean, which I guess is a good sign that he's scary. Scary to 6-year-olds.
This doll is great, Tony.
We practiced the scene at the shop.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did a
before.
great job on this.
It weirdly like reminds me of my dad, in a way.
It
I'm
does
like, oh,
me
my dad
too.
moves like that somehow.
Well, they do, the puppeteers do, like, sometimes mimic Brad's facial
Well, we
movements and
referenced his
stuff.
video.
Yeah.
We shot video of him doing his recording. And then we would reference that for a performance.
So I don't think you've seen this, Fiona.
No, I haven't.
Tony hasn't seen it either, but he was there when we shot. So
I wanted to stop by set. That day.
you were working or
I was
something.
working, yeah.
It was like 100 degrees or something. It was really this. We actually shot this in LA. This
months later, right?
Yeah.
6 months later. That's amazing. That's great. I love the last shot.
Grandma. Ellen Rudder, who is our
Ellen Rudder,
UPM,
she was awesome.
Yeah.
and our co-producer. She
really made
made
things
run.
happen,
Yeah, she
you
was
know?
great.
She had a whole system going there.
Patty Henderson, costume designer, was wonderful.
Fantastic. We're scanning like any people we haven't mentioned.
I know.
Darren Wall, who played the highway cop, he was also our Canadian visual effects supervisor.
And then
Kyle Nobes played your dad.
and Chris Sigurdsson
Nobes.
was our other Canadian puppeteer.
I also want to mention our amazing executive from Universal, Patty Jackson, who, along with David Kirshner, who has been my partner and the producer on all of the movies, Patty just was really an amazing sounding board for me, along with David. We both really relied on Patty very much. She just has such vast experience making movies and great taste, and really, really loved working with her, and I think she enjoyed her first foray into horror movies. I think this was actually her first horror movie. Now, another of the things that I really wanted to do with this movie was I wanted to bring Andy Barclay back, because it's another thing that fans have been asking for years and years. So I remember, I wrote the scene in the script, and I was just like, I've been in touch with Alex Vincent for several years. And it's very interesting to work with a child actor when they're 6-7 years old, and then they become a real person, and now he's 31. He's actually a really cool guy. Oh, Gary Oldroyd, we should mention, our visual effects supervisor and associate producer. He did a fantastic job. Anyway, I just remember just dying, like months going by, like wanting to tell Alex about this scene, but I couldn't tell him until it was official, and we got our
Right.
go-ahead. It was really fun to do it.
And he does a lot of conventions.
Yeah.
Um,
With your dad, right? Doesn't he? He's done
My
a
dad-
couple with your dad.
yeah, I think
The city of Winnipeg.
City of Winnipeg, kind of a
Awesome.
cool town. Some interesting restaurants and cool nature.
And the nicest people
Ever.
and a fantastic crew. I hope we get to do the next one there.
Yeah, I gotta say, I had
We have, like,
so
two-
much fun doing this movie. It was crazy.
Okay, let's talk about just very quickly before Alex comes in. Alex is coming in, but I can talk about it during the scene. You guys haven't seen. Ding dong.
Ding
6
dong.
months
That was a
later.
very slow delivery.
Package for you.
Really?
This actress's name is Ali Tatarin. I think I'm pronouncing that right, and she was
Very cute.
very beautiful. Yeah. So that's Andy Barclay all grown up. But what I was going to say is, like, for the next movie, I either wanted to be in the asylum where Nika is being held, or on a train. Right. Which isn't to say that Nika couldn't be on the train either.
It's
but just
okay.
like the thought of,
I could take one for the team.
but just like the thought of, like, I just like doing a train-based thriller. I love
Why
movies.
couldn't she be on a train on her way to the asylum? They're moving her to a new asylum.
That's a good idea. I'm gonna steal, if necessary. Or she could be fleeing. It's kind of hard to flee when you're in a wheelchair. But I used to always joke with Fiona that Chucky would finally corner her in the asylum, and then Nika would, like, grip the armrests of her wheelchair and stand up and go, "What you didn't bank on, Chucky, is that this facility that you sent me has some of the most foremost medical minds of the 21st century."
It's the miracles of modern medicine.
This is a pickup shot. That shot. All of this was the first day. That's Christine Elise and Catherine Hicks from Child's Plays 1 and 2 back there.
Play with this.
Andy!
The end.
Yay! He's cool.
Great ending.
Thanks, everyone.